definitely will be here as he was here. Because he was the minister of music at that church, and they came to do an interview about their music conference. And I was there, so this room was really familiar.
Okay. So what's it gonna do is gonna count them in.
Okay, fellas, we give it go live.
Let me put the other, put the line in the morning. Yeah. Hold on a second.
Hey, good morning to you. 10 minutes after the hour on this Tuesday. Man, you know, it was like 90 degrees. They're going down. It's like 47 degrees and back and forth. It's terrible. I mean, no, I'm not calling it terrible. That's the weather, and the God is in charge somewhere, so he knows what to do. He has the big thermometer in the sky. And but anyway, welcome to you back to the morning drive this morning. We're going to be chatting about some things and allowing you also the opportunity to call in 910-483-6111. We wanted to begin our conversation talking about Cumberland County and the city of Fayetteville leaders requested a combined $126 million in state funds from the North Carolina General Assembly in Raleigh. We have also on the line with us DL. Good morning, DL.
Hey, good morning, George.
Sure. So DL, look, this is the deal. They want $126 million in state funds from Raleigh. And so they're looking at our legislative delegation to ask them about getting this. Okay. Now, out of that $126 million ask, that request includes $96.5 million for county projects, top priorities including water and sewer, school construction, including E.E. Smith High School, and mental health. Let me break that down. So the key projects, they flow like this. $15 million for direct state appropriations to address critical infrastructure needs. $15 million specifically for a new E.E. Smith High School. $20 million for a classroom addition at Grace Creek High School. $300 million in long-term maintenance funding is requested for schools by the Board of Education, added to the state lobbying effort. So, of course, county officials are arguing against state-funded, state-mandated expenses such as school construction needs, jail staffing, and Medicaid costs that strain our local property taxes. But again, you know, that's what I'm talking about. So, at the end of the day, it works like this. Our state legislators, their job is to bring revenues back to Cumberland County. We understand that piece. But we understand that there is a political thing going on as well. The General Assembly has been controlled since 2010 by a majority Republican caucus. And so you have to work with them in order to get the money. But dear, we remember what happened to Kirk Devier when he worked with them the last time, and what then Governor Cooper did to him.
Yeah, that's what, 21, that's almost 5 years ago, half a decade. So we're right back here, and, you know, we get ready to have a new Speaker Pro Tem in Raleigh, looks like, but it won't be the 2027. That's not for sure, so still got that in the works. But you do have the new House majority in this leader, so that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, it will. So, of course, the person that is challenging Phil Berger, he's not going to get voted up to that. I mean, that's going to go to some veteran person that is there. You know, it may even go to the majority whip. You know the majority whip is one of our state senators, Tom McGinnis.
Oh, wow.
And you know that's a pretty high-ranking person within the conference.
I don't know what the hell is on.
That is correct.
Or the
But,
record.
we're currently working
Talking
on
about some
last year's budget because it's sitting current agreement of this current year. So it's going to be interesting. They're going to scrutinize the project. So they got their work cut out for them.
Well, you know, I mean, for those individuals that declared that they would go to Raleigh and refuse to work with the opposing party or the opposite party, I mean, that's just foolishness now for anybody to believe or think that we're going to be able to make that happen without collaboration from both sides of the aisle.
Well, Troy, I tell you this. People say a lot of things on both sides of the aisle when they're campaigning, but the reality hits when they get there and find out, okay, this is what I have to do. And, safety net, such as our safety net program, such as SNAP and other benefits, the federal government, it's a trickle down effect. What's going on in Washington is going to affect us in Raleigh and the rest of the state.
Yeah, it is. It is. But anyway, I mean, but I think this is huge, I mean, the $126 million ask, from the General Assembly, that's a big ask. But, their total budget that they operated off of now, I think it's around 100, I mean, it's around $30 billion that they're operating off of right now. That budget is about $30 billion.
Okay, let me give you a scenario. The GOP they didn't want to require any type of background check for CCW, and that when that bill didn't get the number of votes. Give you a hypothetical. So they put that again, and they need a Democrat to step over. Is that going to be a line too far for your local delegation? Only they would know. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be a scenario, folks that are listening to us, where they're going to say, okay, Dublin County, you want this? Fine. We want to get this bill across. And to me, CCW, I believe no one, of course, a convicted felon cannot possess a handgun. But I'm going to tell you, Troy, some of these sheriffs in these counties, their turnaround time is too slow when folks go in there asking for these permits.
What kind of time line are you talking about?
Well, you shouldn't have to wait. You shouldn't have to wait no more than 20 days to get your background check for any type of handgun permit or CCW. And when you do stuff like that, some of these Democrat-led counties, I'm not talking about Sumner County, but Mecklenburg County has a problem. They still got a problem with that sheriff if they decide to re-elect. It becomes a problem. But my point is, it can be any bill that somebody on the Democrat side don't want to mess with. You see what happened to Carla Cunningham. She's going to the House. So my point is, you have to be willing. You see, you brought up Kurt, and Kurt helped them out, and then it cost them. So that's my point. It's the Sumner County delegation on the Democrat side of the House. Will they be willing to cross over if they want the money that you just mentioned?
Right. Well, not only Representative Cunningham, but Welling, I forget his name, but he's from up there, in Berkeley County. I'm not pronouncing his name right, but he was there for a long time, and he was ousted in the primary, and there was a third person from High Point, I believe, that was ousted for the primary, in his primary.
Yeah, it's part of the reason, and we want to segue into that. I have a problem with. Here's the thing about education. Folks need to be educated. No local agency. There was never a bill in North Carolina saying they wanted local agencies to work with ICE, like go out on patrol. That was not the case. By the way, you do have joint task force. All they wanted to do, this boiled down to, they wanted local sheriffs to detain undocumented immigrants for a certain period of time, anywhere from 40 to 72. Also, they wanted, if somebody came to jail and they appeared to be non-American and they had no ID, they wanted to notify ICE. What problem? Why would you have a problem with that? How did that become a partisan issue? That doesn't make any sense to me, Troy.
Yeah, well, I mean, but look, I went to a, well, I don't call it debate, but a little forum with the Democrats in a primary for the Board of Commissioners. And one of the questions that was lofted at the candidates concerned ICE. And I was like, I mean, I didn't understand why they had anything to do with anything. So I walked outside afterwards and I wasn't complaining, but I was just expressing my opinion about it. And a number of people like, no, I think that was a good question. So what are the Board of Commissioners that we have locally? Talking about the Board of Commissioners, what are they going to do about ICE? And why are we asking them a question about ICE? But that was one of the questions that was asked at a Democratic Board of Commissioner debate, if you will, for at-large candidates. I just found that to be interesting, if not totally out of line.
Well, man, first of all, most of the law enforcement agencies across the United States are short. They don't have the manpower to say, hey, I need you to work with ICE. When we say work with ICE, if you have, like I just mentioned, if you have somebody and they want you to put them under the retainer, that's what you do. It bothers me because get arrested for domestic violence. That's automatic. You don't have any bond. You're held for 48 hours. That's us, a regular American. So you're detaining no bond for 48 hours. Why can't we do that for somebody that's considered to be a non-documented person or somebody who's ICE that they want? So they could be, you could have that person's name, but they could have overstayed their visa. We hold them. I don't, So I get back to what we originally talked about, because we did. I know I kind of took you there, but hey, they're going to be the folks in Raleigh that be saying, okay, Company County, you want this? How bad do you want the money? Because that's what it's about.
Well, we got some people that I would call them left-leaning. Somebody might even describe them as far left, bringing these things to the table, which I don't believe they promote and push us forward with any positivity. And certainly, I think we just make mistakes sometimes when we involve ourselves in things. What's going on in Minnesota is not accurate or descriptive of what has been going on in America as a whole with regard to ICE. And so with this budget debate that they have in Congress, and they hold people hostage because the don't want to fund the TSA workers. I mean, one side is using pain to try to make things happen. So it's my understanding now, if you go take a flight, you might spend quite a bit of time standing in line, getting your stuff checked, which I've flown within the last 6 months, because I flew down to Florida a couple times last year. This is disturbing, and because what the president is saying, he said, look, if y'all don't fix this, I'm going to send ICE to the airport. And they're about to lose their mind with that thought.
Well, I don't know if it's a true image on social media. I saw a black female at an airport and somebody asking her why she's doing this type of job. Well, they put under the caption, well, they need folks there to get them out of there. And let's get back to you. You talked about what's going on in Washington, D.C. and other states. Folks got to realize there's an old saying, all politicians are local, which it is. That's just it is. You have to make sure you understand, we don't have any a day-to-day contact with our senators unless we reach out to them. We're not on the floor. We can't reach out and touch them and go to their meetings unless, we're traveling. Here's the point. You live in your communities with your council people and your county commissioners and your board of education folks. You see them every day. You can go to their meetings. That's where it starts. You cannot get so enamored and get upset with what's going on in Washington that you don't want to make decisions in the best interest of folks in your community. So I think that's what we get caught up at, because when you worry about ICE, and you have to be more concerned about the project. Like the folks who want the money and want to keep certain schools open, they're the ones who have to be cognizant that I have to go out here and work with folks that are in charge, because folks really need to take a civics lesson, because if they really understood how things work in Raleigh, they would be going to tell their local delegation about the party, and you got to go up there and work with these folks to get the funds needed to help my cause.
It's true. You're right. Well, look, on the other side of the break, we do want to talk a little bit about education, because that's a big topic that we have here now. Some people, it started off with a conversation with a consultant coming to the our community at the request of the school board to examine what we were doing here. And that was followed up by a recommendation from that consulting company. And then the school board moved forward with their recommendations after they met also in committee. And now that's turned into some pushback from the community, which they have a right to do that. And now we have even legislative intervention or even questioning about what's going on in our public schools. I don't, I don't get it. What I really want is some of the old school board members to come on, because they talk about, hey, look, if some of these schools were not taken care of in a proper manner, then those folk that were there should be held responsible for it, because they watched it happen. And more specifically, I keep talking about Ed Chestnut. I know a number of my friends attended school there, and I sympathize with their emotional attachment to the school. However, it takes $6.7 million, according to the consultant report, to bring that school up to snuff. And but we have people that are actually saying we need to spend that kind of money for historic reasons. I just believe that should we be making decisions at our age, we're over 70, should we be making decisions for the generation behind us? I question that, when the average one of us are not going to be here no more than 15 or 20, 10, 15 more years at the most. Shouldn't we be allowing the generation behind us to make those decisions?
Yeah, I agree with you.
So, but look, we're going to a break. Producing this morning, we have Reverend Carl Brinkley and Reverend Paul Matthews, and we have a new addition from my school. I'm alum, Federal State University.
Bronco Pride.
Bronco Pride. We have Brother Caleb Brown is going to be with us for a couple of weeks here, and before it's all over, we're going to have him behind the mics, but he's in the communications group over there. So anybody from Federal State that's listening, I want you to know Brother Caleb Brown is in the house, and he's learning things, and so we're excited to have him on as a student intern. So we'll be back for more following this break.
Clear.
So he really likes gospel music.
Okay. All right. Actually, he's in the right place.
It said one of his favorite artists is Ricky Dillon, so we got some Ricky.
Oh yeah.
I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, the hand of the Lord is upon me. That's one of my ones of his that I love.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know they were talking smack yesterday about traditional gospel.
Sports betting and March
Quartet.
Oh.
He was in the room. Widu was talking trash. I said, I know y'all been talking a little about Quartet.
Yeah, I'm pollen is definitely here. You can see the yellow pollen.
So,
the pines.
do you like Quartet music?
Everything.
Oh yes.
Okay, good for you.
I'm Jamie Bonicelli,
He
WIU
plays
Radio News.
guitar
The
and
Cumberland County
quartet
Sheriff's
group.
Office is alerting the public to a recent scam and robbery scheme occurring through Facebook Marketplace in the Everett Acres subdivision off Lake.
Yeah, he can do it all.
In Carson. Detectives have gotten reports of an individual advertising air conditioning units for sale at discounted prices. When buyers arrange to meet and arrive at the location, they're directed to the route of the residence. Once they
check him out. Look at the caravan.
You must been a you must have been listening as a baby. There's a little bit.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. My mom, my mother, because
April 10th.
she listened to all that stuff. So
Okay.
that's all. That old school spirit kind of got on me.
That's a good thing.
So,
He loved the Widu anniversary.
yeah, I'm getting him on weekends. I talked to Tammy about it, and Tammy is excited about bringing me in also to help them stuff. So he finished Tech Community College already, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he transferred over. That's what I did. I got a 2-year degree before I got a 4.
Okay.
Right.
So do you have?
I did too. But when I said was
certain people calling in, or is it open anybody can call in?
Anybody call in, but this guy right here is a regular, and so he's a good conversation starter for me. I was trying to get in. This is the National Black Social Workers Awareness Month, and this guy was supposed to be in college. The guy was supposed to be in front of me today, and Dennis Corbin. You remember Dennis?
I don't remember that.
He's one of the professors at Fairfield State.
Okay.
I called him because they were blowing the phone last week, but we had our hands through last week. And now I'm calling him back. He's not answering the phone. So I called Dennis. Dennis is in Detroit.
Okay.
And he's plus because it's so cold up there.
Is he? Did he come in?
Yeah, he's been here before, right?
I remember him because he had written a book.
Yeah, not him now, but one of the guys that worked with him wrote a book about males.
Right.
Right. That's Dr. Kennedy.
Kennedy is what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, he goes to church right up here at.
It's coming back. Get what she got.
Family Fellowship.
Okay. Oh yeah, he sure does.
Right.
Davenport.
Yeah, right. That's him.
Yeah.
Patient-centered policy hotline to actual patients here. My guests are from Novant Health, Elizabeth Fountain. She leads the Novant Health Center for Public Policy Solutions, and Dr. Sid.
So we've got the next hour. There is a councilman that does a show, and so he's going to probably have a guest. Sometimes he takes certain shows to open up the phone line. Some they just focus on their guests. But then the second hour, the 10 o'clock hour, Brent Adams, they do a phone show. They actually just phone in, and we just put them on, and then they just kind of do what they just talk for, that amount of time. But during that time, we can I can kind of show you some more of the stuff of how our focus is on here.
He got to be gone. Yeah, he got to class at 9:30.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
You don't have class on Fridays, do you?
No.
But he's open on Fridays, though.
Okay.
On Friday, though, yeah, I'd be different.
Yeah, see, they have some pretty sharp people in on Fridays. You got Garbo. What's the name of the show again?
Heartbeat.
Yeah, Heartbeat. And also you have MP3. I think you really enjoy watching them go back.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
24 minutes for the 25 minutes for the top of the hour here. We back inside of the morning show. I was talking to DL, and again, do want feedback from you if you choose to join in this conversation in particular. Because this old school thing to me, again, and I can't emphasize it enough, I believe it ought to be the most important thing that's facing our board of commissioners.
I agree with with you. So I'm talking about these construction costs and folks have alleged that some schools have been neglected. Well, I would never say that they're not being truthful, but here's my concern. Schools over the years, you got an associate superintendent, you have one for education in the classroom, that's all the addresses for the superintendent, and you have associate superintendent for auxiliary service, which means buildings. So there needs to be, that custodian at that school, if he submits his work order, that should be whatever portal they use for work orders. And then if it's not getting done, the building principal can intervene. And if they said, well, we're not going to do the prepare based on the dollar amount, that documentation should be there. But at the end of the day, Troy, it's like I watched the meeting back in with the February when Greg West they were doing all this. And Greg West put it like this month. He said, well, folks, guess what? If what we're doing now is folks, or we can always, as a board, come back and we can just void this, or just make it back to where it was before. So that's why I don't see the need. I know, the folks in Raleigh, your local delegation, I don't think it should have been public because to me, I don't like another board. It looks like they're overseeing their little brother. That's the look I didn't like. Now, can they get together? If it's a quorum, the media has to be notified, but can they get together and just one or two and talk over the phone? But that's how it looked to me. But, they get together and talk about local issues. But at the end of the day, the voters of Cumberland County elected 9 board members to make tough decisions.
Yeah. Well, I was told this, and if I got it from a good source, that some people went to the Democratic convention, the county Democratic convention, to complain about this. I guess the approach would have been they were trying to make it a partisan issue. And the problem I have with is that there's even the hint that you're trying to make it a racial issue, when I don't believe that it is such now. Quote unquote, a black school in 2026, exactly what does that mean? Okay, now we know that in 1969, there were black schools and white schools. Are there still black schools and white schools is my question. Are we still dealing with things from that perspective, a black school and a white school in 2026 versus 1969? That's the question I have.
Well, Troy, if we want to look at through the prism of race, 9 school board members and 6 of them are black females. If they feel like that it's about, to me, they got to be stewards for everybody. They were elected. Well, all board members, regardless if you're at large or in the district, you're serving black, white, Native Americans, all races. But if you feel like that the African American community has been done wrong, do your due diligence and vote. You have the majority. That's basically what it boils down to. It's what it boils down into Raleigh. We talked about, you just said, the GOP is in the majority right now, and they're cutting the purse strings to checks. So Cumberland County delegation is going to ask them for this money, and they're going to determine whether or not they're going to give it to them. Well, in Cumberland County, you can do the same thing. You can reverse all the decisions. Go back to what you had before the consultants. Okay, if you do that and just repair all these buildings and put the money into them, that's fine. But guess what's going to happen when you're asking money from the local, the commissioners and the state delegation? You might not get it because they're looking at it too. They're going to say, you want to keep a school open that's under 50%, and the cost of getting it up to speed costs millions of dollars. They might not give you the money. They got tough choices. I don't get it. They got tough choices to make, and it seemed like I'm trying to figure out, what is a school board going to do? Regardless of who you listen to, who's going to pressure the ones that are on the opposite side of this to do what you want them to do? I just don't get it. What's the end game,
Right. Well, I don't really want to out our previous superintendent of schools here, but he's not here now. And I hope he doesn't get upset with me revealing this, but I was in his office, and I had gone to meet him, and this is what he said to me. He said that there were a number of African Americans that had voted for him to come here, and what they said to him, look, we brought you here for these black kids. And he said his response to them was, no, wait a minute. I'm here for all the children. I can't be here for just the black kids. I mean, what would make you think I could do that? But, you know, but I'm just saying is that some of the same group of people that is doing that's going on now, that's kind of making the noise, that's what he told me they said to him, which to me is kind of a mindset. You know, we really can't have school administrators saying that we're just for one particular race of kids. I mean, you can't do that. I mean, that's, you know, so you can openly believe that that should happen. That's horrible to even think about that. But now, like I said, I don't know. But that's what he said to me. I mean, this is not hearsay. That dropped on my ears directly.
Well, at the end of the day, you send a kid in the school system at 5 years of age, kindergarten, and you want them to exit at 12th grade at 17 years of age, you know, like I did. You want them to be able to learn. You know, that's the ultimate responsibility of everybody involved in public education, is to make the environment conducive to where the children can learn.
Well, so here's my take, too. So now, back in whatever it was, it may have been October, when they brought up the issue with the failing schools, and they had a board meeting at the main office there off of Gillespie Street, I went to that meeting. I did. I went to that meeting because I was curious as to say what was going to be said and done. At that meeting, they also revealed the number of, you know, the racial breakdown of these kids that were doing what they were doing. You know, we're talking about black kids, how they were performing, males and females and white kids. And of course, at the bottom rung of the ladder was African American males. And I sat there and I watched the dialogue and the interaction. But the thing that bothered me was that, look, these people that are raising so much sand about a building, I didn't see them there supporting, trying to come up with something to help fix these young black males who are dropping out of school. You know what I do on my main gig? I'm over at jail and detention. And when I'm over there, look, these kids are dropping out of school in the 9th grade. I was talking to one yesterday. That's what happens. And so they're falling through the cracks. How come nobody is excited about that? How come nobody is calling your legislator about that? How come we're not trying to fix that problem, but we're worried about bricks and mortar and our history, when you would think that they would know that our history is tied, our legacy is tied to these young men?
Well, Troy, I know you've reached out to several school board members to get them to come in behind the mic, and that would have been a good point to start. Now, after they received a report from the consulting firm, that would have been the time to go out into the neighborhoods and have those forums, in my opinion, because the state law is, if you're closing down a school, you're required to have public hearings. Now, if you're just relocating the school, there is no such requirement by state law. Now, this went down in the February meeting. So now, fast forward to March, that's when they had the meeting at Southview. I don't get that. That meeting should have already taken place, because you wouldn't have to go and do some actions from the previous meeting. And that's just head scratching to me, Troy.
Well, But again, though, I'm coming back to, shouldn't the students be the priority? When these African American males are failing at horrible rates, the buildings that they are in now are not working. Now, I don't know what the proper analysis would be as to why these young black males are not, they're failing at an incredibly higher rate than everybody else in the schools. But shouldn't we be trying to fix that first? I mean, shouldn't be these biological children be the center of attention first over an argument about a building? So,
yeah, and let me tell you this. So when you watch that school board meeting in February, if they said, well, if we close some of these schools down, and if we close a couple buildings down, and if we move a couple of schools into Douglasburg, because Douglasburg under capacity, then we could take those funds and we could target those at-risk children. And that was a suggested course of action. And I agree with, because you do, at the end of the day, superintendents hold building principles, well, the board too, because the board confirms those principles at those locations. If you don't see an uptick in test scores, after a while, it's like any job, we need to find a new principal. What's going on? Unless you can say, hey, well, we don't have the number of certified teachers here, because that's the problem too. We're talking about bricks and mortar. We don't even know. It would be nice to know the report card of the school to see why a particular body of students is failing. But as far as the African American male, that's going to be countywide, and that demographic is always it's going to be low statewide, because when you get this advanced education such as college, black females are graduating on a way alarming rate higher than black males.
That's true. That's true. Well, but anyway, so look, now let me segue into that. It's a good point. The Chancellor, Darrell T. Allison at Fayetteville State University, and I'm going to go back a little bit and talk about this because I think it's important. 5 years ago, when he came here, there was all this uproar because they didn't want him here. You remember when people were marching in front of the school?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they was like, no, we don't want it. Now, just drive down Merchant Road right now and take a look on either side. Bronco Midtown. You got the Chick-fil-A facility. I mean, at one point, we would have thought that it would have been impossible, a dream, to have Chick-fil-A on Merchant Road, really. Now you got Chick-fil-A there, okay? You drive down, you got all this other stuff, and Bronco Midtown is really blowing up. They got the business hub there. The Chamber of Commerce is there. I'm talking about the Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce is right there across in front of the university. Now, all of this happened in the last 5 years under the watch of Chancellor Allison. When there was all this pushback, they didn't want him here. Let's tell the truth. I'm going to tell the truth. They didn't want him here because they felt like that he was here at the behest of the Republicans. Now, mind you, we never got anything built like we did before. Have you seen the corner there just across in front of the senior citizen, this new health complex that's being built right there? I mean, it's incredible. I mean, and not only that, they have, I don't drink coffee. What's the coffee place there on the campus?
Starbucks.
Yeah, Starbucks. You know what I'm saying? Look, incredible, brother. All this stuff is going on. But not only that, not just the cosmetic stuff, because they got that huge billboard there that at night you can be all the way down to Rowan Street and Rowan Street and Bragg Boulevard. You can see it that far at night. But we're talking about the stuff that he's doing. And you know what they're trying to do now? It's like he's saying. He says they're trying to increase the footprint that Fayetteville State University has in Fayetteville, in this region, in this community. And I think they're doing a marvelous job at it. But The naysayers, the people that attacked everybody that supported this man coming here, they owe this community an apology. And I'm just saying is that we have got to stop doing the kinds of things that we're doing in this community that it's just that any kind of change, we fight change and the negativity that comes along with it. We got to stop doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you.
So,
but
you know, here it is. We've never had the kind of participation, and the student population has increased by leaps and bounds, man. I mean, it's incredible. Now you got to be a little more sophisticated when you go on campus now. I went over there a couple weeks ago to meet with our student intern, Mr. Caleb Brown, and I went past and I had to take my phone. I got to scan some stuff in, and I admit I was a little bit frustrated because I didn't really know how to make all that work, but I said, whatever. But again, an incredible university, man. I mean, they're doing some magnificent stuff over there. I mean, DL, I mean, some incredible stuff.
But yeah, you're right. Getting back to where the test scores for black males is just, like I said, it's just not Cumberland County. It's all over, and that should be the priority. And you know, it should be remedial training. I mean, that's what we should be talking about. You know, when you talk about test scores, I guess some teachers say they don't assign homework. You know, that should be the exception, not the norm. But you do have to have a fix-it problem, and that's what you should be. We should be asking your local board of education. Look at your demographic that's suffering the most, or any kid. What can we do, and is it going to take funding? Can we, you know, we do have summer camp programs. What can we do in the meantime during school? Right now, we can use funds for bus transportation. If a kid needs to stay after school and the parent doesn't have transportation, I mean, you can keep that child out of school and ensure that child gets to his house. That takes money, and that's what should be a priority right there.
Right. Well, you know, but again, I'm back to Chancellor Allison. You know, the most visible sign of change over there is the scale of the campus construction. If you haven't been over and just seen that, I mean, the construction continues at the Federal State University's College of Education. Man, look, we need to get out of these old buildings, bruh. Could you imagine if they had the same attitude that the public school system has? No, we want to keep this old building because we were here in XYZ years, but you need new construction, like they have new buildings over there, pushing down those old dorms, building new dorms. You know, technology, everything has risen to a new level. That's what we need to be doing. So, you know, that's my take. And if that upset somebody, I'm sorry, but I'm saying what I believe to be true.
Well, yeah, I see young folks all the time in church, in the community, because I got my cousins' kids are, you know, they're in school right now, and some have been to the private, I'm not going to call the names, they've been to the private HBCUs. And I tell anybody, and I tell any parent, if your child wants to go to a state-funded HBCU, but their grades are not where they need to be and they've been rejected, but they qualify for a private black HBCU, send that child to a community college first, because to me, you should qualify for both. You should qualify for both if you're going to go to school. Because the reason why I say this, Troy, it costs a lot more money to go to any private school, let alone a private HBCU. And you talk about facilities, some of them are like night and day. Cold water versus hot water all the time at a private black HBCU, the ones in North Carolina that I've set foot on. So, you know, you're right. what student, because I think this was under Dr. Hackley, they had the honors dome at Fayetteville State. The honors dome's been out for a while.
That's true.
And a friend of mine, his daughter, him and his wife graduated from Winston-Salem State. And for some reason, their daughter had an issue with getting in Winston in A&T. So she's been at Fayetteville State since 17. She's graduated. She now over one of the dorms. She loves it here, working here. She's gonna move back to the Charlotte area in a couple of years, but she loved it. She could have transferred, but she didn't. She stayed here and stayed in Fayetteville and got a master's. She loved Fayetteville State. But parents, you want your daughter to go where you went, but she didn't. And you know why she loved it? She said that she loves the atmosphere, she loves the friends she made, and the construction.
Well, it's like this. If you go to a private institution, I'm telling you, take it from somebody that knows firsthand, it's generally about $50,000 to $60,000 a year. I mean, a semester. So that's what it's going to cost you. And remember when they come up with the plan, the scholarship program here, now you can go to school for $500 a semester, and the people were pushing back on that. So okay, so you rather go spend $50,000 a year rather than the $500. Make it make sense, man. I'm telling you, that actually happened. And for the longest, for a period of time, Fayetteville State was not eligible for that $500 a semester thing because they rejected it. Because they said it makes us look bad. And it makes you look bad. You have children over there that come from indigent, poor situations. But I'm telling you, that happened, you all. Look, so I'm not being negative. I'm just bringing stuff up that happened so we can know how we got to where we are. That's what God told Israel. Rehearse in the ears how we came across. I'm just bringing this stuff up because it's the truth.
Hey, and Troy, I know we get ready to get off the air, and I would love for folks who listening who don't agree with some of what we said, just dial in, and next time you always open the lines when me and you're talking. So, hey, chime in.
Right. Well, like I said, I wish you would call your legislator and be as concerned about these young black men who are failing in our schools the same way you upset about saving a building, brick and mortar. That's all I'm saying. I believe that child ought to mean more to you than a building with a name on it. Now, if I'm wrong, then you just call me out. But that's all I'm saying. So, and I don't know who you are, but for the ones of you all that call representative instead of so-and-so, all concerned about that, I hope that you would be concerned about these young black men who are not finishing school, and because of that, they get lined up for crime, and they fill up our jails and our detention centers. But not only that, they're committing these crimes out here that are horrible, that expose all of us to risk. So that's what I'm saying. Now, if you're gonna get mad at me about that, okay? Because I can sleep well at night with that thought. All right. Well, look, we're out of here, dear. Appreciate you so much. And we got some great stuff to talk about on Friday. But I appreciate you. Thank you all so much for tuning in, for listening. We have coming up next, Sean McMillan's coming up at 9 o'clock. And it's at 9 or 10. Yeah, Sean McMillan at 9, Brent Adams, the attorney, at 10. Again, we appreciate his inaugural visit. My little brother here, the intern from Fayetteville State University, Brother Caleb. So look, I'm gonna take a picture with Brother Caleb, man. Let's take a picture of Brother Caleb so we can put it on the website so people can see him. And certainly his dad, he is the pastor of Mount Zion AME Zion Church. I used to go there when I was a kid for Sunday school conventions. So my first Sunday school convention, I think I was about like 12 or something like that. But anyway, appreciate you all so much. Thanks so much, Reverend Carl Brinkley, our producer this morning. You all have a great rest of your